Logotherapy as a technique. A realistic fear, like the fear of death, cannot be tranquilized away by its psychodynamic interpretation. On the other hand, a neurotic fear, such as agoraphobia, cannot be cured by philosophical understanding. However, logotherapy has developed a special technique to handle such cases too. To understand what is going on, whenever this technique is used, we take as a starting point a condition which is frequently observed in neurotic individuals, namely anticipatory anxiety. It is characteristic of this fear that it produces precisely that of which the patient is afraid. An individual, for example, who is afraid of blushing when he enters a large room and faces many people will actually be more prone to blush under these circumstances. In this context, one might amend the saying, the wish is father to the thought to the fear is the mother of the event. Ironically enough, in the same way that fear brings to pass what one is afraid of, likewise, a forced intention makes impossible what one forcibly wishes. This excessive intention or hyperintention, as I call it, can be observed particularly in case of sexual neurosis. In addition to excessive intention, as described above, excessive attention or hyper reflection, as it is called in logotherapy, may also be pathogenic, that is, lead to sickness. This anticipatory anxiety resulted both in excessive intention to confirm her femininity and excessive attention centered upon herself rather than upon her partner. When her attention was refocused toward the proper object, that is, the partner, orgasm established itself spontaneously. Fear brings about that which one is afraid of, and that hyperintention makes impossible what one wishes. In German, I described paradoxical intention as early as 1939. In this approach, the phobic patient is invited to intend, even if only for a moment, precisely what that which he fears. Let me recall a case. A young physician consulted me because of his fear of perspiring. When he expected an outbreak of perspiration, this anticipatory anxiety was enough to precipitate excessive sweating. In order to cut this circle formation, I advised the patient in the event that sweating should reoccur to resolve deliberately to show people how much he could sweat. A week later, he returned to report that whenever he met anyone who triggered his anticipatory anxiety, he said to himself, I only sweated out a quart before, but now I'm going to pour at least 10 quarts. The result was that after suffering from this phobia for 4 years, he was able, after a single session, to free himself permanently of it within 1 week. The reader will note that this procedure consists of a reversal of the patient's attitude inasmuch as his fear is replaced by a paradoxical wish. By this treatment, the wind is taken out of the sails of the anxiety. Such a procedure, however, must make use of the specifically human capacity for self detachment inherent in a sense of humor. This basic capacity to detach one from oneself is actually actualized whenever the logotherapeutic technique called paradoxical intention is applied. At the same time, the patient is enabled to put himself at a distance from his own neurosis. A statement consistent with this is found in Gordon Allport's book, The Individual and His Religion. The neurotic who learns to laugh at himself may be on the way to self management, perhaps to cure. Paradoxical intention is the empirical validation and clinical application of Allport's statement.